We're proud to announce
Chance Forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. My name is Rhonda Daniel, and I'm your club president, and we are so glad that you're with us today. We'll begin by having our volunteers come forward. Invocation today will be led by Diane Peacock, Song and Pledge, Phil Armstrong, thank you Tom Wolf on the piano, visitor introduction by Joy Longmire, and now Diane.
Thank you, Rhonda, President. Good afternoon, Rotarians. Probably very few of us have heard the name of this gentleman. His name was Phillips Brooks. He was born in the 1800s. He was a clergyman and an author. Perhaps people in this room, such as Tom, such as Paula Woods, such as Joe Bias, and our speaker today, Dr. Martin, have heard of this man's name. We have probably heard of this man's song. He wrote the beautiful song, O Little Town of Bethlehem. He also wrote a lovely prayer poem. I have recited this poem as a Christian over the decades, as in first person. Today, I'd like to share this poem with you in third person, non-denominational. The name of the poem is For Today, and it asks for strength in changing and choosing good. Let us bow our heads. O Lord of the universe, give us strength to live another day. Let us not turn coward before its difficulties or prove recreant to its duties. Let us not lose faith in other people. Keep us sweet and sound of heart in spite of ingratitude, treachery, or meanness. Preserve us from minding little stings and giving them. Help us to keep our heart clean and to live so honestly and fearlessly that no outward failure can dishearten us or take away the joy of conscious integrity. Open wide the eyes of our soul that we may see good in all things. Grant us this day some new vision of thy truth. Inspire us with the spirit of joy and gladness, and make us the cup of strength to suffering souls. O Lord of the universe, we pray to you, and bless this food to the nourishment of our body. Amen.
Amazing what a few days of rain will do to make you appreciate the sun when it comes back out. It's a beautiful day today. Let us sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is always so nice to have so many guests, and it is my pleasure to introduce the guests today. As I call your name, guests and your host Rotarian, would you please stand to be recognized? But as always, we will hold our applause until everyone has been recognized. With Karen Keith today is Pam Vreeland, who's also a friend of mine. And Ed Monette's guest is Rob Beck with Sade Music. And Anna Sophie Heidenjak, right here, is our exchange student from Austria. And Karen Keith has hosted her. The Sizemores, Joe and Joan, if you would stand, please. They have hosted her. So we are so happy that they are all here today. Bob Lucy's guest is Rick Lucy. Terry Palmer has his son-in-law here, William Duffy, all the way in the back. Jeff Hassel has several guests with him today. Irv Jansen. Jeff standing, Irv, all right. Anna Norberg is also here with Jeff. Kathy Rad with Tulsa Symphony is also a guest of Jeff's. Richard Gibbs' guest today is Jeremy Reed. And Greg Cack has his lovely daughter with him today, Catherine. And Kathy LaFortune is also a guest of Jeff Hassel. Kathy's with Tulsa County. We are so happy all of you are here. And we do have one visiting Rotarian today from Southside Rotary Club, and that is Lynn Fesperman. Hi, Lynn. We're glad you all came. We do hope you will come again and perhaps consider becoming a member of this wonderful club. Thanks.
Thank you, volunteers. I want to recognize this week's Rotary sponsors, and you just saw her, the beautiful Joy Longmire with McGraw Realtors, Chuck Wilson with Associated Mortgage Corporation. We encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. Now let's take a moment and thank the volunteers who came early to make this meeting run smoothly. Now I'd like to introduce you to our chairman of our Youth Exchange, Duff Weddle. Would you please come to the stage, Duff?
Thank you, President Rhonda. Anna Hodniak is our exchange student from Vienna, Austria for this year, and before she gives us a short presentation, I'd like to again acknowledge our support group of host families and counselors. Joy Longmire has been Anna's counselor all year long. Trish Kirkster was her first host family, the Sizemores her second, and Karen Keith and husband Pat Malloy were her third, and thank you again so much. Without you guys, we wouldn't have this program. So Anna, from Vienna, Austria, learned that she was coming to Tulsa for her exchange, and she ran in and told her mom, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to the world of Honey Boo Boo and Duck Dynasty." And then her mom looked up Tulsa in Wikipedia and saw the passage about tornadoes and severe weather, and as the story goes, spent the next 3 hours crying. But fortunately, you haven't had any bad weather to speak of. And we want to thank you again for sharing a year of your life with us and for sharing all the wonderful things about your country with us and teaching us the fine techniques of cooking Wiener Schnitzel and apple strudel Vienna style. And again, for enriching our lives for this year. And please come back and see us again.
So my name is Anna, as you already heard, and I'm a Rotary exchange student from Vienna, Austria. First, I would like to tell you something about what I like to do in my free time. I love arguing, of course. Well, I'm a normal teenager, right? My friends are everything for me, as you can see on the slide. So my weekends are mostly hanging out with friends and making new things, you know. And talking about my family, as you can see, my mom on the first picture, I have a really close relationship with her. We lived together alone since I was 2 years old, so we're like the Gilmore Girls. I don't know if you know that show. She works for Pfizer as an external communication manager. And my dad, as you can see me holding, it's a really old picture. That's him, and he lives 2 hours from me. He lives on a beautiful lake in Salzburg, and so I can get to see all the countryside. And he's a entrepreneur. Okay, good. Yeah. So, and I have a brother. He's down there, first down. And he just turned 4. I couldn't be on his birthday, but I love him a lot. And then I have a really close relationship to my grandparents too. And yeah. So I'm from Austria, Vienna. The capital is Vienna. And Austria was founded in 1804, and we have a population of 8 million people, and it's even smaller than Tulsa. Like, Vienna is really small, smaller than Tulsa, and we have 2 million people living there, so you can imagine how everybody's very hugging and everything from there. So it was really different to come to Tulsa from such a small and high-populated country or city. So on the 3rd of August, the day my life was about to change, every little thing I did for 9 hours, actually 12 hours from Vienna to Tulsa, I didn't really realize what I was doing. Like, it was just rushing by, and I was like, oh, well, I'm in America now for a year, and I didn't realize that I'm not going to see my mom, my friends, and all the beautiful things in Vienna for a whole year. But I was kind of excited about it, because I love going places where I have no clue where I am, and I think a lot of people who are exchange students are feeling that way, probably. So, yeah, I knew it was an amazing decision, and I knew it's going to be really fun. So my first host, Trisha Kirkstra, I couldn't have asked for a better host mom to be my first. Without knowing me, only like for a week, she organized a great birthday party in Oklahoma City, and I did it so appreciated. And Trisha, you're a wonderful person, and I'm so grateful for everything you made possible. Thank you for taking me to Kansas City. You can see a little picture down there, and Oklahoma City many times, I think like 3 times. Yeah, so the first few months went by, and I adapted pretty quickly. Trisha knows that I didn't cry, but I was kind of sad that I didn't have friends on the second day of school. Well, it's not that fast, Anna, but on the 3rd day I met friends, so it changed quick. So I was really, after the first few months, I already had that feeling that I'm different from my friends at home, because I speak of stuff, they don't know what I mean, and I grew in the first 4 months already. It's amazing, and I'm so proud of the decision I made, and I made a lot of friends, not only in America or from Tulsa, all over the world. So my second host family, the Sizemores, I can't believe, looking back, at everything you guys did for me, from a trip to Dallas to Christmas and treating me like a real daughter, to a trip to St. Louis, which was really awesome. And thank you for all those memories that will always be with me, even when I'm leaving Tulsa. And by the way, we need to make a nicer picture than that, because I don't have one. So after that, more and more months went by. And yes, Trisha, sorry, I know I'm rushing things all the time, but I don't know why. So I couldn't believe that I just have a few months left, and I just really kind of got sad, because I didn't want to leave that kind of dream, because it's just, you're away from everything. It's like a pause in your life, because when you're going back, everything will be the same. The only person that changes is yourself, not others. And so my third host family, oh my, Karen, Karen, Karen. We got some pretty good memories, right? I'm actually keeping a journal. It's called The Crazy Life with Karen Keefe and Their Three Companions. It will be out soon, and it's pretty much like that. Day 1. The house is nice, but the dogs ate my art, so I don't know. Day 2. Pat and Karen are talking about making fun of me walking home from school tomorrow. I don't know if they're serious. Help. It will be out soon, so you can buy it on Amazon. Anyway, it's, where am I? Okay, sorry. Without joking now, Karen, you are a wonderful mother. I'm so happy to live with you. And yes, even with Grady, the little evil dog. Thanks for so much, Karen, for everything. Next thing that came up was RYLA, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. And I went there with totally no expectations. I was sad to leave Tulsa for 4 days. But when I came there, the first thing, there's so many people, so many kids, I was like, oh my God. But it was absolutely amazing, really. Like, it changed my life. It was an amazing 4 days. I grew, like, we had a tribe, and we just grew together, and it was amazing. I don't know. We became family in 4 days, and I've never gone close to somebody so fast, you know. And we learned about leadership. We learned about being in a team, and I really loved it. As you can see, we did some ropes, and I'm afraid of heights, and it was, oh my God. Without Riley, you can't see her in the picture, but without Riley, I couldn't have done that, and we just pushed our limits on this 4 days, and it was absolutely amazing. And we learned about having a mission in life, and just approach, I learned about what I want to approach in life, and setting a goal, and not always complain about what people make mistakes, just change it, try to make a difference. So that was amazing. So Camp Enterprise, the next camp I went to only 2 weekends later. So to Camp Enterprise, I was pretty excited because I knew that Ryla was so awesome without going with expectations there. And after the first day, I already understood so much more about what my dad does. I never, I don't really understand what my parents really do. Like, when I was a child, I thought my mom sits in front of the computer all the time and just has fun. And I was like, why do I have to go to school? And my dad, So we learned a lot about business, but also about having fun besides making business, that there's always 2 ways of handling business, you know what I mean? And we did canoeing, and I made really good friends with a lot of people there from Tulsa, and I'm still hanging out with them. They're amazing people I met, and I made friends with the Oklahoma City exchange students, and we're so close, and I'm sad that I have to leave everything. And I'm so excited for what is going to happen next in my life. Oh, okay. Sorry. In my life in the next few years, how this exchange will affect me and all my friends and my family. I'm just so curious about it. And I really, really have to thank my mom for making me so open-minded about everything. And I really have to thank Rotary for making my dream come true that I had since I was in middle school. So, this was the most exciting year in my life so far, and this year was also really priceless. I can't pay anyone back, but it was an amazing experience, and thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you to the Youth Exchange Committee and all the sponsors. On behalf of the club, I extend our deepest sympathies to the Stevenson and Rothrock families on the passing of special lifetime member James Stevenson this last Tuesday, May 26th. Services will be held this Friday, May 29th, at the Memorial Baptist Church at 10 o'clock. Jim was Rotarians Bill Rothrock's father-in-law and John Rothrock's grandfather. Cards are on your tables for extending the messages of condolences. Please keep them in your prayers. We have one committee meeting today, the Club Foundation Trustees, in room 233. Now, Paula Wood, if you will please bring our newest member to the stage. And I believe Jake Dollarhide did the new member orientation, so thank you, Jake. I've lost you, but thank you for doing that. Paula?
I'll just go off script, make you really nervous, right? It's such a pleasure to introduce our newest member to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, Roxanne Minnick. This year marks Roxanne's 7th anniversary with the March of Dimes. She began her career with the March of Dimes as a community director in Tulsa before being named to the Eastern Oklahoma Division Director in 2011. Over the past 7 years, Roxanne has rejuvenated the local division board, increased revenue, and set new financial goals for the Oklahoma chapter. She currently serves on a nationwide peer committee group within the organization to help new guidelines, goals, and timelines for fundraising events. Roxanne's passion for the mission of March of Dimes starts with her love of being a mother. She has 3 children, 2 of which are active at Edison Preparatory School. It is such a pleasure, Roxanne, to give to you the 4-way test and your Rotary pin. Thank you.
Anna, we hug here in Tulsa, too. Okay, Matthew Bristow, if you will come to the side mic, please. Tell us what's going on. Are we there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Arne, that was an amazing job. When you stand from this side looking out that way, it's not always easy to talk about your personal life. But you did an incredible job. I took some notes on how to stop crying when I talk up here, so thank you very much. So starting off today, we have Bob Riley, and Bob wanted to, he's had 2 years in Rotary, or he will have 2 years in Rotary on May 29th, and wanted to give $25 apiece to recognize the work that his co-workers, Tim Colwell and George Shahadi, do for this club. So thank you very much, Bob. So we had a mystery Rotarian who said I could have $50 if I didn't use his photo and $50 if I didn't mention his name. So I'm pretty cheap when it comes to raising money, so I accept the challenge, $100. He had a birthday on, will have a birthday on June 2nd. Thank you very much. So, you know, you get sent so many different fine things you're going to talk about doing Sarge, but I feel like marriage counseling, if they just said become a Rotarian, because it seems that we have some of the most tenured marriages and happy marriages in this club, and it's so fun being on this end in a younger marriage to be able to be in a group of people who share this, and more wedded bliss here from Matt with his wife Becky, and he wanted to help me, so gave me $180. Thank you very much, Matt. So Brian couldn't be here today, but he was telling me a story of the Up With Trees had put in a memorial at the Turnpike entrance, and unfortunately ODOT said they couldn't fly a flag there because it wasn't well enough lit. Well, Brian spotted recently that they had put a spotlight onto the memorial sign itself, so a few weeks back he spoke with the people at Liberty Flag, bought a new flag himself, went there, had someone trying to halt the traffic while he negotiated how to get over there. He fixed up all the equipment, put the flag there, which is now flying proudly. It's lit, and he did want me to mention that it was with the passing of Carl Wright, his good friend, thinking about Memorial Day, other veterans that inspired him to do this. So he's not here today. He's at Camp Lockridge with 109 children from Kendall Whittier, which sounds a lot more challenging than being here. But everyone knows Brian. He does incredible work, and I think that's wonderful what he did. So thank you, Brian. All right. Another wonderful person, recognizing another wonderful milestone, 41 years of marriage to Eva on May 25th. Thank you very much, TC, $200. So apparently Scott didn't think that he'd been sufficiently generous with Camp Enterprise a month or so back, and Scott and Margie gave $1,000 as a bronze sponsorship in honor of Mr. Bias for the 2016 Crescendo Music Awards. I already hear it's going to be a wonderful program. More generosity from Scott and Margie, and thank you very much. I have 4 more weeks as Sarge. It's about $1,300 away from 50 grand. I'm just saying. That's how to find me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Ed. Ed Monette is coming to the side mic for a quick announcement.
On September 17th, the Denver Broncos will fly to Kansas City, play the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. So for about $3,000, you can fly first class from Tulsa, spend the night, get some okay seats, have wonderful airline food, wake up the next morning, rush to the airport, fly first class back to Tulsa for about $3,000. And you might get a chance to see IBA honoree Chris Harris in the Denver Bronco backfield. Or June 22nd, you can take the same $3,000. You and 9 of your friends can have a fabulous gourmet meal at the first class Renaissance Hotel, have a chance to shake hands and meet with Chris Harris and all our honorees and international celebrities, too many to mention. Or $175 will get you the same deal for just one of you. Buy your tickets at the table. It funds everything we do at IBA, including our wonderful exchange program. Our whole Rotary world centers on the money we give, and it's earned by IBA. So please stop by on your way out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And now it's time for our Rotarian of the Day, President-elect Jeff Hassel. Jeff is an attorney with Gable Gottwalls. He has been a member since April 1995. He's both a Club Foundation Fellow, Paul Harris Fellow. Please welcome Rotarian of the Day, President-elect Jeff Hassel.
Thank you, President Rhonda. I am deeply honored to be able to introduce our speaker, Dr. Margaret Martin. In my opinion, her story is a remarkable one of personal triumph, nationally recognized accomplishments, and local impact here in Tulsa. We have very few speakers, in my opinion, who can offer us all of those things. First, personal triumph. Dr. Martin overcame significant personal challenges and enrolled in college in her 30s, and now holds a doctorate in public health from UCLA, focusing in community health science. National recognition. Dr. Martin founded the Harmony Project in 2001, and for thousands of vulnerable children in Los Angeles, the project has provided instruments and tuition-free lessons. The Harmony Project also supports numerous full-time orchestras that serve the youth and many different music ensembles for youth. She has personally received 2 presidential awards. In 2009, she received the Coming Up Taller Award from Michelle Obama, which is the nation's highest honor for an arts-based youth program. And that is administered by the President's Committee on Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. In 2011, she received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Obama. And lest you think that her Harmony Project is all about music, her project was mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, for example, in October of 2014 as one of the examples of the scientific evidence that's now coming out that music is in fact more effective than many of our other traditional fixes for our education system. The Harmony Project has also been mentioned on the NBC Nightly News, the CBS Evening News, and many other national media broadcasts. Local impact. The Harmony Project Tulsa is one of 7 affiliated projects of her original Harmony Project in Los Angeles. It was started by the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra, representatives of whom have come today to grace us with their presence. Thank you all, by the way. And it's now a separate organization that's supported by the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra, by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, and by many other donors. I don't want to take any more of Dr. Martin's time, so without any further delay, please help me welcome Dr. Margaret Martin.
I hope I get this right. Thank you so much. A posse of Los Angeles gang members walked through a farmer's market. They had shaved heads, teardrop tattoos, oversized clothing. They stopped in front of a tiny kid playing Brahms on a small violin. After 5 or 6 minutes, without saying a word to one another, I watched those gang members pull out their own money and lay it gently in the child's case. I was at UCLA at the time, completing a doctorate in public health focused on what it takes to make a healthy community. And those gang members were teaching me that they would rather be doing what that child was doing than what they were doing, but they never had the chance. That child was my 5.5-year-old youngest son. I went from high alert when those gang members stopped right in front of him to total meltdown. As an academic, for me, it was an authentic moment of grace. It was as if the heavens opened and God spoke. And I knew that I wanted to capture the benefits of music education and make them available to disadvantaged kids. I dug into the literature. I found that music training was linked to improvements in math and language and brain development and behavior and literacy. So when I completed my degree, I launched Harmony Project in Los Angeles with 36 disadvantaged kids and a small band of intrepid founding board members with, drum roll, a $1,000 starter grant from Rotary Club of Hollywood. Without Rotary Club of Hollywood stepping up to the plate, I would not be standing here today, and thousands of kids' lives would not have been changed. So I'm deeply grateful to this entire organization for being there with vision and support. So Harmony Project is not a music program. It's a powerful community safety program. We provide multi-year mentoring to high-need kids, 5 to 12 hours a week of structured music classes and ensemble rehearsals year-round, tuition-free, from early childhood through high school graduation. That's a pretty big level of commitment, but that's what the research literature supports, 5 to 12 hours per week. This is what we exactly do. Year-round, tuition-free, based on family income. We go into high-poverty schools. We build full-time bands and orchestras with our students in their own neighborhoods after school hours. And if you think about it, a youth orchestra or a band is a perfect metaphor for community. They only work if the members show up at rehearsals, if they come prepared, if they listen carefully to one another, if they learn how to agree, if they learn when to solo and when to improvise and when to blend in, and if they can work effectively across cultural and ethnic divides. I like to say that if our members of Congress or of your state legislature had grown up within Harmony Project, I think our government would function a lot better. Because when you show up, you've got a job to do. The job is to come together and create something beautiful that works, to find ways to agree, not to find ways to disagree, because we know what that sounds like. If musicians aren't agreeing, it just sounds bad. So where else in our kids' lives do they learn these things so elegantly? And where else can we teach them these lessons on a wholesale basis? It's a multi-year commitment throughout childhood, and service learning is required. As our students advance, we train them to mentor their less advanced peers. As our students advance, we like to be able to enable them to earn their way into private lessons, but to pay for their private lessons, they have to take a leadership training and agree to mentor a less advanced peer or two, providing private lessons for them the whole school year. And they stand and deliver at the end of every semester in peer mentor-mentee recitals, which is really phenomenal. So I got into this for the positive habits of mind: discipline, persistence, confidence, accountability. But something more, all of those things were achieved, but we achieved more than that. Our students from the highest crime gang zones, with parents with 3 or 4 years of education, started graduating in huge numbers and going off to major in things like genetics and neuroscience and pre-med, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, biological engineering. So this was freaking me out. In 2014, 37% of our high school seniors entered science, technology, engineering, and math fields from the highest crime gang zones. Now, you have to appreciate, these are neighborhoods where 50% of the kids drop out. Of the kids who graduate, less than 20% graduate with basic English language proficiency. Most of them graduate with about an 8th grade education. Our students, Dartmouth, NYU, Tulane, USC. We have 5 kids at USC right now, including 2 in the Trojan Marching Band. And you know those kids had to audition, compete against kids who had every advantage. We've had students accepted at the New England Conservatory and the Berklee School of Music, although most of our students don't go in for careers in music. Most of them don't, but some of them do. Now, those students didn't go to those schools because they didn't offer them enough money, but they were accepted. So they went to other good schools. They didn't go to the greatest. But if any of you have read Malcolm Gladwell's, you know that sometimes the good schools are better for students like ours than the greatest, right? Malcolm Gladwell's David and Goliath. I got 2/3 of the way through it on the plane to Tulsa. I really recommend this book, especially if you've got anybody looking at colleges. Okay, so our class of 2015, 52 high school grads, 100% have been accepted to 2 or 4-year colleges. 35% are entering science, technology, engineering, and math degrees. The class of 2015 has been with us an average of 6.9 years. Class of 2015 includes 3 students who, in their exit interviews, described leaving their gang affiliation behind in order to focus on music in Harmony Project. Now, Tulsa, you've got a gang problem right here. And gang recruitment begins early in elementary school. Kids are threatened, and they can be hurt if they don't join a gang. They can also face retaliation if they leave a gang. One of those 3 students came from a multi-generation gang family, and that student told us that if it wasn't for Harmony Project, right now, he would either be dead or in prison for the rest of his life because he has family members and friends who are both. Instead, that boy is going to college. He's not majoring in music. He's going to college. So what we give our kids is this positive network of social support that's anchored by our professional teaching mentors. Today, we've got 2,000 kids across LA, at LA's highest crime gang zones, more than 500 on our waiting lists. who are participating 5 to 12 hours per week, working hard together, learning how to make music instead of getting into trouble. And they take care, but 95% of that positive network consists of the students themselves. They've learned how to create a healthy community. They refer to Harmony Project as their second family, their sanctuary, or their refuge. And for many of our students, Harmony Project is the most functional family they have. I was bringing a group of visitors to visit one of our sites one day, and I asked a teen, I didn't know his name, he'd grown up within Harmony Project, he was about 15, 5'11", Hispanic kid. I said, can you speak to my visitors and just let them know what Harmony Project is like from your perspective? He laughs. He didn't even take a beat. He didn't even stop to think. He said, oh, well, Harmony Project is where you go to get rid of all the stress in your life. I started to cry. When I was 15, I didn't have that place. Most of us don't. And that's what we're giving the highest need kids in the highest stress circumstances. Our kids live with alcoholic and addicted parents. They go in and out of homelessness. They live with food insecurity on a regular basis. And they face daily threats. They all tell us that when they've had a tough day, they take out their instrument and play it for a while, and then they're okay. Non-pharmacologic mood elevation. But this made no sense. This was way more than my social science could explain. So I bothered a lot of people and eventually found myself speaking to the head of Child Health and Human Development at the National Institutes of Health. Can you help us understand what is going on with our students? She referred me to this woman, Nina Kraus, Dr. Nina Kraus, who runs the Auditory Neuroscience Lab at Northwestern University. And for 25 plus years, she's been studying the neurobiology of learning. What happens in our brains when we learn stuff? And as a subset, the neurobiology of learning music. I learned from Dr. Kraus, we learned from Dr. Kraus that musicians' brains are very different from the brains of non-musicians. Musicians have, how many musicians in here? Raise your hands. Well, very good. So you're going to be very smug, and maybe you'll go home and call your mom and say thank you. Musicians have more gray matter, more white matter, larger cerebellar volume. But, okay, so what? Well, musicians enjoy signature enhancements that endure throughout the lifespan, including the ability to hear in a noisy environment and focus better. Now, keep in mind, we're living in a country that spends $7 billion a year on drugs to help kids focus and learn. Learning music significantly improves the capacity of school-age children to focus without drugs. And when you're giving kids to help them focus and learn, you're stressing their liver, and you're also teaching them that they need to be on a pharmaceutical in order to function. It's kind of a slippery slope. We might not want to be going down that path. Including for older adult musicians who have mild to moderate hearing loss, they can still hear better in a noisy environment than older adults of the same age who never studied music. Musical training involves memorization of sound and visual patterns, auditory motor sequences. If you tune an instrument or improvise, it requires holding sound in your mind. All of that exercises auditory working memory. Now, hopefully your auditory working memory is working right now, because otherwise, the things that I'm saying to you right now would be making no sense at all. It only makes sense in relation to the things that I just said. So auditory working memory is basically where education happens. It's where we put all the pieces together of all the things that we've learned. It all comes together through auditory working memory. What happens to auditory working memory in musicians? Check that out. School-age children practically doubles. Can you start to get the idea why we might want to be using music training, intensive music training, as an intervention in our underperforming schools? And look at how auditory working memory declines as we age, but not if you're a musician. Musicians get to keep more of their marbles over time and retain the use of those marbles, even if you've got mild to moderate hearing loss. I told you you'd feel smug, you musicians out there. Musical training also involves another signature advantage musicians enjoy involves rhythm. Now, it turns out that a powerful linear relationship has been identified between literacy, the ability to read, and the ability to clap to a beat. It's such a strong relationship that the quick and dirty test for dyslexia or poor readers is put on some music with a strong beat and ask a group of people to step and clap to the beat. And the people who are stepping off the beat and clapping, not in sync, those are the ones who are more neurologically disorganized and will be having the most difficulty reading. But it's trainable. You can train rhythmic skills. And as kids improve their ability to synchronize to a beat, their ability to read improves in lockstep. But you're dealing neurologically. This is my favorite one. It's called neural response consistency. Now you see that the top figure, you've got an incoming sound wave. Now if you could make out, there's a gray wave that's superimposed over that black wave on the top one. That's someone's brain response to that sound wave, and that person's brain response was so precise that it's almost a mirror image. And one of the ways that neurologists assess neural response consistency is they'll play the same incoming sound hundreds of times, and they'll record a person's brain's response, and then they'll run a correlation between that response and the incoming sound wave. And for middle and upper income kids, who are not dyslexic, the correlation tends to be 1 or approaching 1. But look at the figure on the bottom. You see how that's grossly distorted? This is what we tend to see from high poverty kids. But not only that, the next time the same sound is played, the high poverty kid's brain records a different, and a third different, and a fourth different. And when you run a correlation after a couple of hundred trials, the correlation approaches 0. Think about this. When I try to wrap my head around what that means, think about how difficult it is to listen to somebody, to understand somebody who's speaking English to you in a thick foreign accent. Okay? But after a bit, you start to figure out how they're pronouncing certain things, and then you start to click in to what they're saying. But for high poverty kids, it's as if each word the teacher says is in a different thick foreign accent. There's no neural response consistency. There's nothing to click onto. They are in deep trouble. And you should know that we've got about a 50% dropout rate in our 50 largest cities, largely among poor kids of color. 70% of crimes in this country are committed by people who did not finish high school. In 2009, McKinsey & Company estimated the economic cost of the achievement gap in the United States at $700 billion to $1.3 trillion per year in lost gross domestic product. They call it the equivalent of a permanent national recession. And that doesn't even begin to approach the social costs, because all of those kids, most of them, will have families of their own. This is new research. It was only published the 30th of October, 2013. It's like discovering that 30 to 40% of the kids in the country could never see the board, and we never knew. But these kids have low fidelity, randomly distorting brain hardware, and they haven't got a chance unless we can figure out a way to tune up those brains. Any guesses where I'm heading? It turns out that neural response consistency links tightly to ability to tap to a beat, which we know is linked to ability to read, and both of them improve with musical experience. This is an intervention. I'm a doctor of public health, and this is an intervention. Okay, so we know that the achievement gap widens, not just over the first 4 years of school, but recent research shows that fourth graders from poor families, fourth graders of every race, from low-income families, tend to be 2 grade levels behind their more advantaged peers. By 8th grade, it's 3 grade levels behind. And by 12th grade, if they're still in school, the gap is 4 years. So they're graduating high school with about an 8th grade education if they're still in school. Can music offset this? This is some research from the same lab that identified that neural response consistency gap, has done a 3-year longitudinal randomized controlled trial with Harmony Project 2nd to 4th graders in Los Angeles, groups of extremely disadvantaged kids growing up in LA's gang zone neighborhoods. The red indicates the capacity of someone's brain to discern the difference between consonants like B and G. Okay? It doesn't matter if the child is tired or in a good mood or a bad mood or hungry. They just put these electrodes on the brain, and the brain either picks up the difference or it doesn't. After 2 years of musical experience, 5 hours a week, significantly more precise hearing, brain response to sound in the participants, and no change in the randomly assigned controls. Remember that ability to clap to a beat or to replicate beats, rhythms, was tightly linked to language development and reading. Here, we asked students to remember a beat and to replicate it. So the lower bar graph is better because it means less variability. After just 1 year, a significant difference. These things work fast. Kids' brains are plastic, but it turns out it takes years of deep engagement to tune up a brain. Hearing and noise, this is the one, this article was just published. No change in the non-participant controls over the first year. Significant improvement in hearing and noise, which is a good proxy for ability to focus in the music-engaged kids. These are 2nd to 4th graders, extremely disadvantaged. Parents with, minimal education. But then we enrolled the non-participant controls. Look at that. So you can see that the kids with 2 years of music training are clearly advantaged over the kids with 1. It's cumulative, and it continues to we haven't done the research to show if there's a leveling off point, but we know so far that more is definitely better when it comes to high-need kids. And we're not talking about 40 minutes once a week. Would you ever imagine offering kids math for 40 minutes once a week and expecting them to do anything with it? Okay, reading. Now, reading at grade level by 3rd grade is important. The reason is, in 1st and 2nd grade, we're learning to read. From 3rd grade on, we're supposed to be reading to learn. If you're not reading at grade level by 3rd grade, you start falling way behind, and it's hard as heck to ever catch up. The non-participant controls, reading scores declined, as would be anticipated for kids in this socioeconomic group. The music participants nailed their 3rd grade reading targets. This is huge. So what we learned was that we saw that the biggest cognitive gains were seen in the kids who participated the most hours per week. What we're trying to do, since the data about the neural response consistency only came out at the end of 2013, the whole education establishment doesn't have this information. They're trying to remediate over a low fidelity, randomly distorting brain hardware, and it's not working. If the remediation tools that we're using worked, we wouldn't have a massive and growing achievement gap between rich and poor kids. We didn't set out to find a way to close it. I just wanted to find out how come our students were off the charts amazing. We just had our 2nd Fulbright scholar. We've only been around 14 years. And our first doctor begins taking patients this summer. Her mom couldn't even tell me what she was studying as an undergrad. In Spanish, she couldn't tell me. I mean, our kids are off the charts. So far out the tail of any reasonable distribution that it's crazy. So Harmony Project in Tulsa provides an evidence-based intervention that effectively closes the achievement gap between disadvantaged kids and their more advantaged peers. At the same time, we engage parents in ongoing parent education programs. So we're making a significant impact on domestic violence, on school and community safety. And in the city of Long Beach, California, we've just been integrated into the violence prevention plan for the city as a school safety initiative because they're tired of burying kids. Harmony Project kids learn how to take care of one another, and they do a really good job of it. So those gang members that day completely changed my life. I'm deeply grateful to them for the insight they shared with me in their authentic, unscripted action. And I want you to be aware of the amazing efforts in this town to carry out the same kind of activities that we're doing to turn around kids and create a safer community for us all. Thank you very much. And nobody can ever call music expendable or put it on the shelf. It's an effective intervention, but you've got to do it at an intense enough level. Any questions?
What are the biggest challenges in early adoption in a new city, of a program in a new city?
The biggest challenge is building a nexus of support of community leaders who get it and will write personal checks and go to their businesses. I mean, in the city of Long Beach, the chief of police, who's now the sheriff of LA County, said this to me. He says, businesses have to contribute. This is a community safety initiative, and businesses have to contribute. It's in all of our interests. So that's from now Sheriff Jim McDonnell, sheriff of LA County. But that's the initial biggest hurdle, because once you see it up, if you saw the kids last night at what was it, the center, the 33 kids ages 4 to 6 performed a whole host of pieces on violin. I mean, these kids were playing. They wore tiny little buttons. And then they presented me, after this amazing concert, this amazing performance with a photograph of themselves and a happy birthday celebration, because it was the celebration of the first year of Harmony Project in Tulsa, and they'd signed the border. When you see these tortured scribbling of the names, these kids were playing the violin far better than they could write their own names. And it makes you wonder about how we're challenging our little kids. I mean, they were so successful on violin already. And these are all kids from high poverty homes. So, I mean, just think what's happening. There were kids that you looked at them and somebody spent an hour and a half dressing that kid. The families were so proud and everybody was taking pictures. But they played a bunch of pieces. They didn't play one, they played a whole bunch. And they played like hoedown fiddle music and you know, plucking with the left hand. I mean, it was astonishing. 4 to 6-year-olds. So, yeah, our kids are capable of so much more than we imagine. And if you challenge them, they make you so darn right. But that's what it is. And everybody in this room has the capacity to contribute. And I know that at Rotary, it's not about raising money for things. I understand this. But this is about making a safer community, making a safer Tulsa. And it's about giving those kids an access to an education, because if they don't get a chance to tune up those low fidelity, randomly distorting brains they have, they're not going to get an education, and they're going to have families of their own. And their options are not going to be pretty. And it affects us all. Anybody else? Yes?
So, do other forms of the arts, like dance, have the same type of impact on these children that music would?
Now, the arts are magical because they deeply engage kids, but neurologic studies have been done, and there are different benefits from different art forms, but when it comes to impact on the brain, music is in another universe. It's just whole orders of magnitude different. So music is it's the means for tuning up a brain. And you saw how those benefits endure throughout the lifespan. It doesn't just make them better students, although it makes them hugely better students, and it enables them to be so precise in the way they hear that I think that's why so many of them are going into science, technology, engineering, and math fields, because they're capable of processing at a very precise level. And they've learned by the time they get to be teenagers, they're playing symphonic literature. They're also playing jazz and blues and improvising. I mean, we make complete musicians. But anybody, and I tell our kids when they're graduating, I say, you know, nothing you're going to learn in college is going to be more difficult than the things you've done in Harmony Project, than playing that last symphony you learned to play. So music is, it's just orders of magnitude beyond all the other art forms in terms of brain, impact on brain function. Anyone else? Yeah. Vocal music counts, but it has to be with the same level of precision. So you need to be able to sight read. You need to be able to sing with precision, not sort of in the ballpark of. Okay, anyone else? Yes?
In some parts of the country, including some communities in Oklahoma, the STEM initiative, they're actually pushing kids out of music classes to get them involved in STEM. I just wondered if you had any comments on that.
Well, you can only imagine what my comment is on that. You can only imagine. Those people are not up on the science, the latest science, but this is really new and it's not their fault. Most of our, we've had 8 peer-reviewed articles published in journals like the Journal of Neuroscience, I mean conservative peer-reviewed journals, over the last mostly 10 months. So it's really new stuff. You're hearing it from me because you have some pioneers in your midst who have already launched a Harmony Project affiliate here in Tulsa. And gather together and support those efforts. But this is how I've been asked to consult on a documentary film that's being produced by Tom Tull, who is one of the guys responsible for the Batman and Superman movie franchises. And he's creating a documentary film called The Disruptors, at least that's the working title. And it's about how to motivate kids to get into STEM careers. And I showed them this data, and I said, the way to engage kids, there's a robust piece of data in the field of education. 8-year-olds are academic motivation, curiosity, interest in school, stably and predictably high, but for every year that a child remains in school, we are absolutely experts at extinguishing their curiosity, their interest, and their drive. The exception are the deeply arts-engaged kids. But music is the one that enables you to think with precision and learn with precision and in order to access science, technology, engineering, and math fields.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton. And I love this title, and I think it's very fitting for our speaker today, because you have reached your fairy tale matchmaker. Our upcoming programs, June 3rd, next week, is Pat Jones, OSU football coach. You don't want to miss that. Following that is James Pepper Henry, the executive director from the Gilchrist Museum. So now I'm going to tune up your brain with a song. As we conclude, I hope this song, Don't Stop Me Now, which is fitting for you, performed by Queen, rocks your world for some light-up Rotary fun. We are adjourned.